Yeah. Yeah, that's
But I
amazing.
suppose now we're chatting.
Yeah.
I should probably introduce myself properly.
Let's just do over. Take two. Let's go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, because
What's
I'm
your
just
name,
talking
mystery
away,
person? Yeah.
and your listeners might not know who I am. Well, they definitely won't know who I
That's
am.
right.
So I'm Lexy,
Okay.
24 years old,
Yes.
and I'm a personal trainer from Buckinghamshire in England, which is a little county outside of London. So I'm about 30 minutes into central London on the train.
Nice.
But
I
over here in the UK.
yeah, and I can you explain to me? I'm asking you. I'm going to ask you a few different questions, kind of like related to fitness, because I had a question that I didn't ask you the last time that I think people would want to know about, and it's got to
Okay.
do with your marathon prep, because I want to hear how you prepared for your marathons. We didn't talk about that too much. We talked about like your
No,
business
we
and
didn't
everything.
really.
Yeah.
I suppose, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really overthink it. I went online, I typed in a marathon training program.
Mm-hmm.
I found I think it might have been a 12 or 16-week program. Was already sort of running at the time, but maximum running for an hour.
Sure.
I wasn't running for 4 hours. And I just didn't look too far ahead. I would just wake up in the morning and see what it said to do that day. And then
That's kind
before
of
you
smart.
know it, you sort of one day wake up and you're like, oh my God, I just ran for 3.5 hours.
Just yeah.
So
Wow. God.
my advice
Okay.
for marathon training is to not fixate on the race day, but just find yourself a program that works for you and just take it day by day. You don't need to jump in the deep end and start running miles and miles and miles. And you only do one long run a week anyway.
Sure.
But there's loads of great programs online to follow. So that's how I got myself into it. I didn't get myself a coach or anything. I just sort of did it for fun.
Did you how were like the pre-marathon jitters? Like did you get any like real intense nerves going into it? Like before the race?
Well, I'm quite competitive. So for me,
So maybe not.
I wanted a good time.
Yeah.
That was what made me nervous. I was like, I knew that I'd be fine crossing the finish line. I knew that I'd done my training. And actually I had a friend ask me the other day, she's looking to do a marathon, and she said, oh, what's it like when you hit the wall? And I said to her, I never hit the wall, and I'll tell you why I never hit the wall. It's because I trained properly. And I'm not saying if you hit the wall, it's because you didn't train properly. It just means I didn't go off too fast. I paced myself well.
But that's the big thing though. Like the wall. Even I've heard of it with not running any marathons. I know that's like the big problem, when training. So
hitting the wall didn't happen for me because I trained. I followed this program, and I just followed it to the T. And if I had a niggle or an injury, I'd jump on the bike instead of going for a run.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really overthink it. I didn't have a race plan. I just sort of went off at a pace that felt comfortable, and I just maintained it. Really, I know that sounds so simple, but it is. Running a marathon is very simple.
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, the first marathon I didn't take on any gels or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which was probably, it definitely was a mistake, because you sort of get to mile 20 and your body starts to sort of shut down a bit.
Just break down on you.
But like after that, in other marathons, I started taking on gels. So that is one thing I would say.
Energy gels.
It's a mistake I made. And also, I think if you're going to take on gels, you need to make sure you're using them in your training runs. Don't just use them on race day.
That's a good piece of advice. That's a good piece of advice. Okay. Yeah. And you're talking about energy gels when you say gels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, energy gels, that's it.
Okay. I've never tried energy gels, but I know that's like a big part of marathon races. Like you always carry those gels with you. Yeah.
And some people have jelly babies or whatever works. Whatever works.
Sure. All the marathon lingo.
Yeah.
The jelly babies. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
So you're probably wondering what makes me qualified to talk about this sort of stuff.
Yes. Tell me about it.
Well, I obtained my level 3 diploma in personal training back in March.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm currently at my final year at Oxford Brookes University.
Okay.
And I'm doing sport and exercise science. So
Nice.
I've got 1 year left at university, and I've got my PT qualifications.
What do you call? I had a question too. Like in the UK, is it a different when you graduate? Is it because here it's bachelor's of kinesiology? Is it the same over there?
I think it's called a BSc, so a Bachelor of Science in Sport and Exercise Science.
I actually like that a little better because ours is pretty much the exact same thing. It's just we don't have like you guys have that extra little letter to kind of help with the classification. Ours is like you just have a bachelor in science, and then it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's like you could say exercise science, but in the end, it's just like that broad definition of what it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I'd give a bit of background to myself.
Please.
Myself, should I say? Sorry. So I had dabbled with the idea of being a PT for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So back in February 2020, I returned home from my travels. I'd been to Australia and Indonesia.
Yeah.
Highly recommend both places if anyone's looking to travel. And I spent the majority of the trip with my boyfriend at the time and his family.
Sure.
So after a few days back in England,
mm-hmm.
So I went to Indonesia without my boyfriend, but after a few days back in England, my boyfriend came to see me and he broke up with me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was completely heartbroken.
Yeah, that's tough.
I know it was a tough time, but you know what? I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And I also believe that we don't meet people by accident. They're meant to cross our paths.
Yeah.
And it was almost a blessing in disguise, the lockdown for me in England, because we broke up and then almost a few weeks later we were in a lockdown. So everyone's life had been flipped upside down. It wasn't just mine.
Yeah.
So I took comfort from that, I suppose. But I decided that I needed something to focus on. And it was the first time in a very long time that I was able to put myself first and focus on what I wanted.
Yes.
So it's at that point that I actually decided, you know what, I'm passionate about it and I'm going to go and get my PT qualification.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up being a PT.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And then in terms of what even got me into exercise, I suppose it goes back to my school days. So I started training when I was about 11 or 12 years old.
Yes.
And I joined the rowing team at my school.
Yep.
I think I asked last time we recorded.
Yeah, we talked about the rowing. Yeah, and it was.
Yeah, I asked whether you called it crew. You said you do call it rowing, but
we call it rowing. Yeah.
Called it crew.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Ooh, what do I say?"
No, you're good. It's rowing. Yeah, but it's if we don't like, it's America doesn't have like I feel like in UK you guys have some very pretty like bodies of water and like a lot more maybe like lakes and that kind of thing just to be able to like do the rowing. I don't know what I'm saying, but I feel like
the TV team we love rowing. The British people are known for being good at sitting down sports. So
but rowing is so hard. Like I have seen it. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. It's like
it is.
Yeah, it is a real sport for a reason because I watch it and I'm like, you have to be a tough son of a gun to be able to do Olympic rowing and stuff.
Early mornings and long hours.
Yeah,
so
it's no joke.
How I got into it is I went to an all-girls school in Oxford. Where there was a huge focus on achievement. Whether it was academics or sports. And I think some people thrive in that sort of environment. It encourages and motivates them. But there are others who crumble under the pressure. And unfortunately, I was in the latter.
Yeah.
So I found the pressure to be quite a lot.
Yeah.
So despite being successful with both my academics and sport, I never felt fully satisfied. I was always looking for the next thing. So I'd do well in an exam and I'd be like, well, what about my next exam? Or I'd win a race and I'd be thinking, well, what about my next race?
Sure.
And I just never enjoyed my success. And I think that had a huge impact on my mental health.
Yeah.
So long story short, I ended up developing an eating disorder.
Sure. And then we talked about it last time.
Right.
You had
Yeah.
2 eating disorders. You had the orthorexia.
Yeah, well, they sort of merged together, I think. So,
Okay.
yeah, you've got something called orthorexia, which is what I initially battled.
Mm-hmm.
So orthorexia, for those of you that don't know, it's an obsession with healthy eating.
Yes.
So although being aware and concerned with the nutritional quality of the food you eat isn't a problem in and of itself, people with orthorexia become so fixated on, so-called healthy eating that they actually damage their own well-being.
Yes.
And I think, as an athlete, as a young athlete, it was incredibly easy to get away with. Because in many ways, no one bats an eyelid. Because it's just seen as healthy eating for your sport. So no one questions you. But the problem with orthorexia is it often leads to other eating disorders, such as anorexia nervosa, which is what I ended up developing. So again, for those of you that don't know, I'm sure most of you have heard of anorexia. It's characterized by abnormally low body weight, intense fear of gaining weight, a distorted perception of your appearance, which is also called body dysmorphia.
Sure.
And I recognize that now because I remember being in the midst of it, thinking I was so much bigger than all the other girls. And I look back at photos and it was the opposite. I was smaller than these girls, but I remember thinking I was huge. So I do recognize that body dysmorphia does, play a part.
It does. It messes with that body image. It's like you are definitely not fat. You're definitely not like bigger. It's weird. It's what you see in yourself.
And ultimately I reached such a low weight that I had to give up sport and exercise for a few years. So I had to give up rowing. I couldn't partake in PE lessons. Do you guys call it PE over there?
We PE. Yes, we do. Yeah. We do call it PE. Okay. So yeah, you're good. Yeah.
So yeah, my life was completely dictated and by my eating disorder.
Yeah. Now, I have a question though. I didn't ask you this last time. Like the timeline, was the eating disorder before you got into marathons, or was it kind of like during?
No, before.
It was before.
So this was when I was about 16, 17 years old. I gotcha. Struggled with anorexia. And then when I was about 18 or 19, I returned to a healthy weight and I was able to exercise again.
Amazing.
And that's sort of where my journey begins, because that's when I fell in love with fitness all over again.
Sure.
Just in a very, very different way. I was training and exercising for myself. I'd go to the gym and I'd go running. And the beauty of it was that I no longer had this pressure of performing. I didn't have coaches to impress. I wasn't entering competitions. There was no medals to be won. So, if I went for a run and I was, just feeling really tired or just wasn't enjoying it, I could cut it short and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And, if I decided to take an additional rest day or swap my rest day around so that I could go to a party or do whatever, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Because the only person that I was actually accountable to was myself, rather than having a whole team that I felt I had to impress.
Sure.
And I didn't feel that immense pressure anymore.
And
I think that's what sort of formed the philosophy I have around fitness now, is going through those two different experiences, one as an athlete and one as someone who enjoys being fit and healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm at now, and that's sort of what's led me to become a personal trainer.
And I'll bring this up too. And we talked about it the last time. I liked your personal approach to fitness about, when you teach people, you try to bring about this, I think I remember it was the goal perspective, like the goal mindedness, as opposed to the look. You're thinking, like you said instead of focusing on that, focus on adding 10 seconds to your plank, or focus on the discrete goals as opposed to what you're looking like. And I like that. I thought that was a great thing.
Yeah, I am so passionate about that. Fitness is so much more than looking good.
Yes.
It's about feeling good on both the inside and the outside.
Yes, exactly.
And I think it's imperative that you don't train solely for aesthetics. I mean, okay, of course it's okay to have an aesthetic goal.
Yeah.
You want to have good abs, for example, and like you just used the example of holding a plank. Make sure there's always a performance goal that you pair it with. So if you're wanting a toned six-pack or whatever it might be, a toned stomach, make your goal, okay, well, I can hold the plank for 30 seconds at the moment, but by such and such a date, I want to be able to hold the plank for 3 minutes. And then break it down. You've got your long-term goal is 3 minutes. What about a medium-term goal and a short-term goal? So your short-term goal could be, by the end of the week, I want to add an additional 10 seconds to my plank. So, shift the focus from what your body looks like to what your body can do. Celebrate your body.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to note that, performance goals, they're measured by a specific outcome from your training.
That's true.
So like I was just talking about, you can break them down into micro goals. And these micro goals enable us to accomplish throughout our journey. And the result of continually achieving your performance goal is that over time, your body will start to reflect your performance. So, if your goal is to do a 3-minute plank, your micro goal might be to add a minute or 30 seconds to your plank every month.
Yes.
And then break that. Then you just, and every month you achieve something. You can tick it off. You can say, oh my God, I've done it. And it's not so daunting as well. It takes away, oh my God, I can only hold the plank for 30 seconds. I've now got to try and hold it for 3 minutes. It takes that pressure away almost, because you're like, well, hang on, actually, there's baby steps to get there.
Yeah.
And that's what those micro goals do.
I like that you split it up. I think I've never approached it like that. I like the idea of like the short term, the midterm, and then the long term goal. Like, I think that's that's cool.
I always do that with my clients. When I have their consultation or we're catching up, I always ask them what their goal is, and then what a realistic time frame is, and then we'll break it down. Because you don't just go from one to the other. You've got to break it down. There's steps to get there. And achieving each step, it keeps you positive, and it keeps you interested and engaged, and, it keeps you motivated.
Yeah. So
when I'm with my clients, I focus on educating them in a way that can support their goals and exercise adherence.
Sure.
And also, you've got to meet them where they are each day.
Yep.
If they come in and they've got a bit of a cold and they're not feeling up to it, you might have to adapt your session.
You say, suck it up and keep going. No.
You've got to, yeah. I mean, there is an element.
That's right.
You're there to motivate and push them and get the best results you can. But also, you don't want to push them you don't want to push your clients so much that they end up falling out of love with exercise.
Completely agree.
To disliking it so much they don't want to do it again, because I think a huge part of exercise adherence comes from enjoying your training. So
that's true.
For example, I really enjoy running.
Okay.
So I love running. I go running 6 days a week. Maybe not very long. Maybe I literally do half an hour most days, and then I might do a long run on a Sunday.
Sure.
But I'll go for a run because that's what I enjoy. But if you prefer resistance training, go in the gym and lift some heavy weights. Do what's right for you. And I should note that as a personal trainer, it's really important. Well, I always encourage balance, because fitness is more than one component. It's made up of flexibility, cardiorespiratory fitness, muscular endurance, muscular strength. And whilst it's okay to focus on what you enjoy the most, and I encourage that, never neglect the other areas. So we spoke about this before, actually.
Yes. And
if you're let's use the example of a marathon runner. If you're a marathon runner and you absolutely adore running, but you don't do any flexibility work or any strength work, you're going to end up injuring yourself.
That's true.
And you're not going to be able to continue doing the thing that you love because you've neglected those other areas of fitness. And it's the same if you're really into, Olympic weightlifting. if you don't do any cardio, any CV training,
Yeah.
your heart isn't going to be able to support the huge muscular
Yeah.
system that you've built up around you. So it's so important.
I kind of like I like the idea of keeping up with the cardio aspect as a very muscular person. Like it's you're
Yeah,
right. The way you said it, it's you need that cardiovascular part of it to be able to keep all the muscle moving, and it's not many people view it like that because I think especially with athletes, they have a very sports specific motivation, so they probably
yeah.
don't think about throwing in the cardio or throwing in the weight training as a marathon runner or something along those lines.
Yeah, and I think it's incredibly
Yeah.
important. So I think functional fitness is really
Hmm.
important, actually.
Yep.
Um, functional fitness is a classification of training that prepares your body for these real life movements and activities.
Yes. Yeah.
I want my clients training for longevity. I
Yep.
want them to be able to train and exercise and move for the rest of their lives. I want them to be 80 years old and still being able to pick up their grandchildren because they've got the strength in their arms, they've got the mobility. You're
Yeah.
not exercising you don't want to break your body through exercise. I think that's
that's
really
something we
important.
can all agree on. Yes.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
I think if you get so caught up in a particular area of training or whatever,
Hmm.
I understand as an athlete, obviously, you often have these sport specific goals. But I
Yes.
think as a if you're a non-athlete and you're just training for what I call training for life,
Yeah.
the idea is that you look after your body. So
Exactly.
you have to make sure that if you go for a run or you do a training session or a HIIT class or whatever it might be, if your body's sore,
Hmm.
have a hot shower, get your foam roller out, do a bit of stretching, just take care of yourself. And I think that's a huge part of the health and fitness industry that's you don't
Yeah.
actually really get to see on Instagram, because all you see on social media these days is, I mean, it's a lot better now than it was a few years ago.
I agree.
It's all
Yeah.
about lifting heavy weights and who's run the fastest time. And
Yeah.
it's just really important that actually it's okay to go for a run and not time yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
It's okay to go to the gym and
Not record
just
the weight
do
you're
what feels
lifting.
right for that day. You don't
Yeah.
need to be lifting as heavier weights. If you want to do less reps or more reps or whatever,
Hmm.
yeah, it's good to have some structure. But sometimes, be gentle with yourself. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, it's true, and it all really it goes into the mindset of taking away the stress out of working out, because people usually think that you just have to like overhaul your entire life. Like what you've been doing up to that point is not working, so you have to implement
Yeah.
something brand new. And to your point, it's not about that. It is in fact about not timing yourself on a run or maybe not recording your heaviest weight and just doing
Yeah.
the exercises without having to think about the stressful portion, So yeah.
And also, don't get me wrong. I'm not sat here saying never time your runs, never make note of your training.
Yes.
First of all, some people enjoy that, and it can be a huge motivator as well to try and improve.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's easy to get too caught up in it. In fact, one of my questions on my question and answer on Instagram the other day
Yeah.
was, do I have Strava? And my answer was no, I don't have Strava. And the reason I don't have Strava is because you can see other people near you and their runs, I think, something like that. You can see other people's running times and what have you.
Can you explain that to me though? What was the word you used? You said Strava?
Strava, or do you not have that?
I don't know. What is that? Yeah, tell me about that, please.
It's a running app that tracks your runs, but you can also see people in the local area who are also running, so you can see their sort of times and
We
things.
might have that, but I really think that people need to use that because I've never heard of that, and it sounds like the right thing to do. That's amazing. Yeah.
It's a really clever app, but for me, I think running is my own thing, and I don't want to get too caught up in what other people are doing.
I'd be the same way.
Or further than me. I just want to go out there, enjoy nature. Yeah, some days you're going to run and you're going to feel, oh my God, I feel awful.
Mm-hmm.
But no one ever finishes a run and thinks, oh, I wish I never went for that run. Or I wish I'd never done that workout.
You feel
Because
good
something
after.
is always better than nothing. Yeah. And I think it's fine. Obviously, it's completely up to the individual. But yeah, track your runs, note your progress.
Sure.
But also have days off. Maybe just say on Sundays, I'm not even going to take my watch out with me. I'm just going to run until I'm hungry or until I get tired. And then I'm going to stop.
Does it?
Because that's okay.
Does it affect like your runner's high? Because I know that like if you go out and run and you do it in a way that's just very carefree, like you don't bring your watch with you or anything, and you're just like what you said, you're kind of just admiring the scenery and everything. Does that get you into a runner's high faster, or not really? Or does it really not have a difference?
Question.
Yeah.
I think it's the problem with or I suppose there's two sides to it, because if you're tracking the run and you run a PB or a really fast time, your runner's high is almost elated. It's even greater, because you're like, I've run quicker than I've ever ran before, or I've run further than I've ever ran before, and I feel amazing.
Okay. I didn't expect that.
The other side to it is sometimes you're going to track your run and you're going to go, oh my God, why was I running so much slower? Why did I find that so much harder than last week? And you're going to beat yourself up.
Okay.
So I've learned that those runs where I'm running slower and I feel my legs feel heavy, my chest feels tight, that just happens sometimes. It just happens. It doesn't mean you're any less of a runner, and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to anyone apart from perhaps yourself. No one is looking at your watch judging you.
That's true. True.
You've got to take everything with a pinch of salt and realize that not everything is the end of the world when it comes to exercise.
No, it's totally the end of the world. It's the end of the world. You don't make a time.
But also your fitness.
Yeah.
It's a wave. You're not going to always be at your peak. You're not always going to be.
I hear that.
Running at your fastest, and you're not always going to be at your strongest. There's going to be things that happen in your life, whether it's personal, illness, injury, stress-related things, or maybe you've got a new job and you don't have the same amount of time as before, or for women, they have babies. All of these things are going to affect your fitness. So never expect fitness to just be one straight line up. That's not how it works. It's going to be waves, and that's absolutely fine. The important thing is with fitness is once you start your fitness journey, you want to keep those waves at bay. So you don't want to be going so extreme that you end up crashing and burning. And also you don't want to just start off doing really well and then just all of a sudden stop. The idea is that you train for life. It becomes part of your lifestyle. And that's what I encourage.
I think it's a beautiful explanation that you just gave about fitness being like ebbing and flowing. It's like waves. It's not it's not consistent. It's not super straight really. It's just about, dealing with the waves, dealing with maybe the odd increases in weight when you wake up one morning, or like, it's
oh my God,
yeah, it's interesting. Cool. Yeah. So I like the way you put that, because people, you go into, your consultations, and I'm sure maybe you've seen this sometimes. It's people kind of expect like a quick change, they really want, and so the overnight fix, and it's just not like that. It's really not.
Also, don't beat yourself up if you have that mentality, because for years I've obviously struggled with eating issues and body dysmorphia, and I used to think, oh my God, I've done everything. I've done juice diets, I've tried intermittent fasting, I've done all of the fad dieting and the fad training.
Yes.
But I've learned from that, because that's not actually how it works, and that's not what keeps you consistent or healthy. And weight fluctuations, huge weight fluctuations from fad dieting is dangerous. It's not good for you.
What is your least favorite fad diet? What do you like? Just don't like?
Know. I think any fad diet. Okay. I don't like any fad diet. I think
I'm with you there.
Healthy, balanced meal. Do you know what? on the topic of diets,
Mm-hmm.
I get asked a lot about diet, but I'm very cautious of providing any in-depth advice.
Oh, and we talked about this. Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough.
Well, in my opinion,
mm-hmm.
I think dietary advice should really come from either a dietitian or a nutritionist.
Exactly.
And I'm going to talk about the difference, because there is a difference. So dietitians have to go to university and obtain a degree. So they're the only nutritional professionals that are regulated by law, and they're governed by an ethical code to ensure that they always work to the highest standards. So the difference between a dietitian and nutritionist is that anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, anyone. So always ensure, if someone says they're a nutritionist, always ensure that they have some form of qualification and that they are registered, because obviously there are nutrition qualifications that you can get.
Yes.
But make sure they have that qualification and they're registered. But be aware that nutritionists are only qualified to provide information about food and healthy eating.
Yeah.
Whereas dietitians can go into a lot more detail, and nutritionists don't work in a clinical setting.
Do you still provide, like, as best you can, diet advice?
I just say to my clients, it depends on their knowledge, because you have some people that are very aware. And different preferences as well. Another huge topic surrounding diet is obviously calorie counting.
Yep. And you don't.
I think calorie counting can be a great place to start for someone who isn't particularly well informed about their diet.
That's right.
But I don't think it's a long-term solution. It's a great way to educate yourself about the quality content of the food you're eating.
True.
And maybe portion sizes as well. But in my opinion, that should be its sole purpose.
Yeah.
That is it. I know it's incredibly controversial. Some people live and die by MyFitnessPal, but I believe that being dictated by numbers, it's a form of disordered eating.
It is.
It is a form of weighing everything, counting everything. Okay, I understand if maybe you're prepping for what are they called, the bikini competitions or what have you, or there's something specific, or you're trying to learn more about your diet. I get it. But there comes a point that you're going to have to relinquish, can't get my words out, relinquish control.
It's okay. Yeah.
And trust yourself. You've got to learn to trust yourself.
Sure.
And I think it comes as a direct result of this diet culture, that our food intake has been overcomplicated, because one week we're told don't have any fat, the next week we're told the ketogenic diet is the best thing ever, and then the next week we're told, oh, you need to be vegan because if you eat meat you're going to get cancer. Well, hang on a second. Let's just take a step back.
I like that. Yeah, that's kind of how it is, especially with anybody going into like veganism.
And it's difficult. I feel for everyone, because it's confusing. You're like, I don't actually really know what healthy eating is anymore. Yeah,
all this information coming at you from different directions. Yeah.
And my answer is that there is no diet suited to everyone. I think everyone has their own individual preferences. So the foods they like, some people prefer sweet food, some people prefer savory, some people like eating 6 meals a day, some people like eating 2 meals a day.
Yes.
So first of all, you've got to go off what you like and what is actually going to fit with your lifestyle.
Yeah. And
the food you enjoy. But also just making sure it's balanced. Don't just think, I'm not going to eat any vegetables because they've got carbohydrates in. No. Have your fruit, have your veg, have some protein. Don't overconsume protein, because that's what the internet tells you to do. That's we had this discussion. We did.
But it's we talked a little bit about it, about the the protein consumption and everything, and But I like
it's a very interesting topic, the protein shakes and everything.
And we talked about that. I think you talked about the little bit of research you did with the protein shakes.
So I read a peer-reviewed journal.
Okay.
And it was very interesting. It was about the time frame in which you consume your protein after a workout. Yes. And what the protein companies are telling us and what influencers are telling us and just what we see online is that you need your protein as soon as you've worked out. You need to have your protein.
Yeah.
When actually that's not the case, because if you think about it from a scientific point of view, your muscles are working hard during your workout, but the energy source they're using is glycogen. So glycogen is the thing that's depleted, and that's the thing that needs replenishing. So you get that from carbohydrates, not protein.
Yeah.
So, after workout, you can have a protein shake if you want to, but it doesn't have to be a protein shake. It can be carbs. It is actually important to replenish those glycogen stores. So have something with a bit of carbohydrate in it.
Sure.
And this study focused on consuming your protein before you went to bed, because protein that is there as, the building blocks of your muscles, really. It encourages recovery and growth and all that sort of thing. And that happens whilst we sleep.
Yeah. So
these researchers decided that actually they were going to get their athletes to consume their protein before they slept.
Sure.
And that seemed to work.
They saw growth.
Better than, I mean, again, anything you read on Instagram or online or anything like that, make sure you go on Google Scholar and you have a quick read of yourself.
I love Google Scholar. I am heavily like you. Yeah, Google Scholar is a good one.
You need to read more than one, because one paper might say one thing, another might say the other.
It's true.
I'm sure most people learn this at school. You got to look at how big of a population group they're using, and all sorts of things.
And one thing I realized too, it was kind of funny. Whenever you read like scholarly articles, inevitably they always arrive at the conclusion that like more research needs to be done, and I always hate that.
Very true.
I know, it's like you read it and you're like, well, we kind of found this, but like more research needs to be done. You're like, oh, okay, so did I really learn anything? Did they really prove anything? It's always, I don't know, I just get a kick out of that.
What we can take from that is that the healthy eating balance plate, whatever, I can't remember what it's called now. Just where, it shows you roughly how many vegetables, roughly how much protein to have on your plate. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just use that. And I often ask people, so when they get all pent up about it, I say, okay, do Olympic athletes track every morsel of the food they put into their body?
Exactly.
Do they weigh everything? Do they count everything?
Yeah.
And I can confirm that they don't.
They don't, no.
My ex-partner and the people I lived with were all part of the GB team. And they don't do it. And these athletes are surrounded by world-leading experts. So, take from that what you will. These athletes are surrounded by the best coaches and the best nutritionists and dietitians and physiologists. And, they're doing everything they can.
Yeah, they're being told what to do,
and that
too.
Doesn't involve calorie counting
or
weighing everything. So I always leave people with that thought. But do what makes you happy, because I don't want to be here anyone thinking I'm preaching.
No, you're not.
I'm just saying from my experience what I think.
Yeah.
And I try to stay quite neutral on Instagram. So I've been on Instagram now, I think, for almost 8 months.
Yeah, and you've built a following. I told you that last time. Like you've figured out the algorithm. You figured out the steps to take. Well, but you've given content that people can latch onto. So it's whatever it is that you're doing.
A bit of everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I write long captions.
Oh yeah, you got hashtag Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah.
Whether they go unnoticed, whether anyone actually reads them. But I try to post a bit of everything. I've got my sister on there. I've got my dog on there. I've got I try to post stories just at home.
Sure.
So that people know actually I'm not always working out, and I'm not just a PT. I am. I have a life.
Do you get any clients from America, or is it just centered in the UK right now?
I have a couple of clients in New York.
Nice.
Good
for you. Yeah, I love it. That's amazing. I'm glad you got some exposure over here.
Do you know what? I know a global pandemic is not what anyone wants.
No.
But if one thing it has done, it's connected us.
It
All
has.
these countries connected together because we're all having to live online. We're all having to work from home.
Yeah.
Do online fitness classes, and I think it's great. And I think the community it's built is brilliant.
Sure.
And I know these times have been really tough for a lot of people. You know, whether it be losing a job, losing a family member, just the upheaval of your life, you know, feeling lonely, not, you know, the uncertainty. And I think what social media has done for me, and I'm not saying for everyone, but I've found a real sense of community on there.
Yeah.
A lot of people supporting each other, a lot of PTs doing live
coming to your
workouts.
help. Yeah, coming to help you.
And I think it's brilliant, really. And I
Yeah.
think if you're struggling with using social media, just make sure you're following people that make you feel good.
Yeah. Go seek out Lexy Butcher and she'll help you. Yeah, with your social media problems.
At PT Lexy.
At PT, there you go. Yeah, I'll post a link on my video here. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, I posted on.
We've covered diet.
My
background. Is there anything you'd like to?
I was gonna ask you, and also too. This is pre-recorded, so I realized that I maybe made it seem like this is live. This isn't live.
No, I know.
I'm just letting you know. No, I realized. I was like, I hope she doesn't think it's live. I didn't even tell her that. Damn. No, but it's all pre-recorded, so it's just you and me. We're not like speaking to anybody right now.
Yeah,
but no, I wanted to ask you. Just like, what's your favorite exercise in the gym? You personally, like, what do you enjoy doing?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
Yeah, not running.
What's my favorite exercise in the gym?
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I'm gonna be very controversial.
Okay, go for it.
And I'm gonna say that I love burpees.
Just get off this podcast. We can't have you anymore. Sorry.
Everyone says that to me.
I know, like burpees. Oh my
god. The reason I love burpees is because, you know, to the floor burpees. So you're using your whole body.
Yeah.
You're getting your heart rate up. If you don't have a lot of time, you're ticking a lot of boxes. So I like it, and I like working hard.
You know, too, I learned as well, you know, burpees can be modified too. I kind of like the idea that, you know, everybody, you say burpees and people go, oh no, I'm not doing that. And then you're like, no, trust me, try it this way. You'd be okay. You know?
You can do, when I teach classes, I always say you can step your burpees if you want to.
Exactly.
You can jump them. I mean, I sometimes do burpee jump lunges, burpee into jumping mountain climbers.
Oh, well then you're doing bougie burpees right there.
There's variation.
Yeah.
But I love a burpee, but I'm sure everyone that's listening thinks I'm crazy.
It's
maybe I am. Who knows?
They're gonna be like, oh nope, not take it from her. No, they'll love you. It's okay. No, but
they were with me up until this
point. Yeah, you lost them. That's all good. No, but I agree. I've had my moments where I've like sought out some burpee intervals and everything. So it is some serious freaking cardio. If you time yourself for like do like a 10-minute like burpee, just go as long as you can for like 10 minutes, do as many as you can.
God, 10 minutes.
But it doesn't like, it sounds difficult, but you just go at your own pace. Like you're not trying to hit a number. You're just going, you can take as many breaks as you need to, but you just do burpees for 10 minutes, do as many as you can. That is like, I have never found a better cardio, I think, if you just want to like.
Yeah, and also if you struggle with high impact stuff, you can can walk them. So you can step your feet out, step your feet back in. Mm-hmm. You can go into a squat jump. You can do so much with a burpee. It's amazing.
And you could do the I've also tried too.
I'm like a burpee advocate.
You are a burpee advocate.
Burpee.com.
No, you're the burpee trainer of the month. We'll just label. It's all good. No, that's so cool. I think people don't understand the effectiveness of burpees, and you know, they just turn away when they hear the word. So. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I like it.
Well, they're hard work, I suppose.
What's your least favorite exercise? Now that I've asked you your favorite, I have to cover all my bases now. What's your least favorite?
I don't particularly enjoy training my chest and
Mm-hmm.
sort of that sort of area, but not because I don't like training that area. It's
Mm-hmm.
more I've had wrist injuries, so
I got
from
you.
rowing. So I do find
It's painful.
them. I kind of, it's one of those sessions I kind of have to really motivate myself to go and do. It's not
Yeah.
one that I necessarily look forward to, but I still do it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not that I hate it. It's just I'd
just
probably say that sort of area.
Yeah. And not many people have like strong, especially dudes too. Like it's we don't. I don't know, the pushing, the pushing side of it is always tough, especially for like a taller guy. If you got longer muscles, and for anybody, I think men and women alike, it's if you're that kind of person with a lengthy muscle and you're more about the aerobic side, doing like a chest day or a bench press or something is just not going to be your strong point. And it's, that's so
I do
get
have
it.
very long arms, so we'll go with that. We'll just say that's why I don't like it.
So a bench press takes you about a
strength.
minute. Yeah. For one rep going down and then pushing back up. Like it's too long. Yeah.
So, well, brilliant. Thank you so much for today.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Lexy. I
I
appreciate it.
again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.